Okay, so we're live. Very good morning to everybody. Good to see you guys. Happy Monday. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I sure the heck did. I was out of town all weekend, so planned on doing a couple of things that I didn't do because the beach ended up calling my name. But good weekend. Good time to take a nice little break. Get some sunshine. We're gonna have some sunshine. Hi, Lester. Good to see you, my friend. But we have some good things to talk about. We're definitely chasing after some setups and some trades and some good stuff this week. So let us discuss it all. Morning, Carl. Any questions? Of course, you guys have questions, comments. Don't hesitate. Shoot them on over. Happy to discuss the details as we go and how everything's looking and going. So let's get right down to it. All right, so first of all, this week we have got not a lot of news, but we have some important news, especially for some of the trades that we're watching and or trades we have. So it should be some good stuff here. Not to mention, finally at the end of this week, the UK, most of Europe, Switzerland, and so on will go into daylight savings as well. We kind of go back to our typical, chunk of time difference that we're all used to. U.S. and Canada switched over a week or two ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe 1 week, 2 weeks ago. Anyway, so we'll all kind of be on the same page as far as time zones go again, so that should be good. Okay, so what we have as far as news goes this week and stuff that we need to probably pay a bit of attention to is as follows. Nothing too much Sunday, nothing Monday, nothing, of any real interest there. There's a couple of small announcements, but as far as the stuff we look for, nothing much there. And then we go into kind of the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but Friday shouldn't have too much of a massive move for us. But Tuesday, what we have is New Zealand interest rate news, and that's going to be a big deal because we're watching New Zealand CAD, we're watching Aussie New Zealand, we're watching this stuff, and so we've got to make sure that we are, positioned well and so on for this New Zealand interest rate news. So I'll have definitely more on that as we go. We're going to talk about it a little bit this morning, and we'll talk about it more tomorrow, later today, and so on. Okay, so that's what we're looking for going on that Wednesday. We've got a little bit of CAD news. We're definitely watching some CAD pairs. We've got our New Zealand CAD trade running. So we have trade balance for Canada on Wednesday, and then we have GDP numbers for Canada on Friday. So there's going to be some news this week that affects what we are trading currently. So that'll be something to keep an eye on, and I'll, of course, be updating and talking about the details there. So it should be good stuff. Good stuff there. Otherwise, not a ton of news this week. It's a little bit of a lower news week, but definitely the pairs that we're trading: New Zealand, CAD, Aussie. Not really much Aussie news this week, but definitely New Zealand and definitely CAD news. So that should kind of affect things. We'll be watching all that pretty closely. Should be exciting. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of things that we are watching, doing, and so on. Let's go right to this. Let's go right to this New Zealand CAD here. So remember, guys, we've got two positions. We've got a little New Zealand CAD trade, and then we've got two positions on Aussie New Zealand. New Zealand CAD 9160, remember we're scaling in and we're starting here, and we talked about our next area being 9250 that we add to it. You can see that New Zealand CAD is at 9260, so it's working its way up there. Definitely the saving grace on this New Zealand CAD for us right now is the fact that this thing just keeps leaving pivots after pivots after pivots. And so, that's kind of something that helps me feel a little bit more, confident about what we're doing is as this continues to kind of run against us a bit, it's just leaving more lower targets. So that's good. New Zealand CAD's not one that, likes to leave a ton of missed pivots and missed targets and so on. And this one has done a pretty good job doing that so far. So we're in at 91.60, which is, right here. And it's been going against us, this little chunk right here. But in the process, it's left a missed daily pivot here at 92.17, a weekly pivot at about 91.90, another daily pivot here at 91.78, and a market imbalance at about 91.73. So I would say in an absolute worst case scenario, this thing should be able to easily get down into basically into our entry, right? Into that 91.70-ish area. We're in at 91.60. We get that in at 91.70. I think that's a pretty least case scenario that we see this do. So what I would be looking for on New Zealand CAD is obviously another good spot to add to it. We want to be careful because we have that news coming tomorrow, that interest rate news, and so I don't want to add to it too soon, and then have too much exposure there. So we like all the bigger, lower targets just as much as possible. This is a place that you could add, but again, we're going to be taking on a little bit of risk with the with the coming news, and so I'm going to be pretty careful about that. That news is only tomorrow, and so I'm going to be pretty careful, pretty cautious. But market imbalance right here, another one right here, all these pivots. At the least, I think the news should probably drive the New Zealand dollar, New Zealand CAD back down towards our entry, and then hopefully start that bigger move lower into all of those targets. Remember, we don't really have any major upper targets. We've got all these massive lower targets, and so we still like this trade a lot, but it's definitely putting up a pretty good fight. The only thing I don't like about this trade, the only thing, is the fact that we could have, and I've of course been watching this, the fact that we have a bit of an inverse head and shoulders on this, right? It's not a real great one. It's kind of an inverse head and shoulders. I mean, it depends how we look at it. It could be a big, huge bearish head and shoulders pattern, or more short-term kind of inverse guy right here. We have that, that kind of move. But this thing's been pretty sideways, pretty non-trending for quite a long time, and so that's kind of why I thought, okay, I'm not going to pay too much attention to this inverse head and shoulders pattern. That's bullish. Everything else is bearish, but that inverse head and shoulders pattern is bullish, and I don't love that. But it's been pretty sideways since 2014, even a bit before. So this thing just kind of bounces around. Those targets and lower pivots and so on are just continuing to add up. So down below. So that's why I'm like, well, let's let this run. But again, hopefully the news will, help us get that push down towards our entry, and then we can start, with a little more confidence, we can start adding to the position and really, looking for that play and that move lower. Nice to see you, Bo. Good to see you, my friend. The ultimate target, the place that I really want to get this pair to is 8,800. That's kind of, from there, I'll probably stop watching New Zealand CAD. When it hits 8,800, I mean, I'll probably start watching the bullish play after 8,800. So that's kind of the big target. The medium term, near term target is just above 8,900. So basically 88 and 8,900 are the two areas I'm watching, but 88 is kind of the real area that we're going for. And then 89 is where I'd like to get this trade to, and then probably take some profit. But yeah, I think that 88 is going to be our spot. Remember, 8,800 is our is this big market imbalance right here. We've got some pivots and so on in there, but that's a daily chart, obviously, but you can see it better, on lower time frames. But that's a great little level right there. It's a really, really good level, really good area, and I think we should be able to get into that pretty easily. We've got all those pivots at 88.40, 8800. The actual market imbalance itself is more like 87.75. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking for. Be really great if this double top area can hold. Big double top up here. We'll watch. We'll wait. We'll see. But yeah, big thing. How are you finding market imbalances? Yeah, you just gotta of course, I'll post the charts and the details for for everybody. But you just got to comb through that 1 hour chart and mark those levels. Make sure they haven't been hit. But yeah, it's all about the 1 hour chart. This is a great little market imbalance right here. Got a good little market imbalance right in this little area here at 89.80. But yeah, it's just right on that 1 hour chart. Find those consolidations, those breakouts. Here's another good example. There's a little short-term market imbalance, that nice little breakout, and a good little level there. So, yep, it's just all about that 1 hour chart on those market imbalances. Go back as far as as far as you can, as far as you need to, and just make sure you've got all those levels everywhere. Okay, so so that's New Zealand CAD. We're seeing a little bit of New Zealand strength. We've got the Aussie New Zealand, kind of pushing lower, New Zealand CAD pushing higher. So we've got a little bit of New Zealand strength, not a ton, but a little bit. And we definitely have a little bit of CAD weakness right now. So if you look at most of the CAD pairs, dollar CAD's not really making too much of a run. I mean, it's moved a little bit, but a little bit of a push there. You can see, Aussie CAD's had this kind of big run here. So we're seeing, we're kind of picking up on a little bit of Aussie strength, a little bit of New Zealand strength, and a decent amount of CAD weakness. So we obviously need that to kind of turn around and chill out and give us a little breather there. But that's kind of where we're focused there. So we need the Canadian dollar to pick up a little bit of that momentum. There's a lot of different factors involved. Obviously, we've had some recent OPEC news that'll affect CAD pairs, and some oil prices and so on. But one thing we can keep an eye on is oil is seems to be holding pretty strong here, and has just, on this big massive sell-off, oil has just hit and pretty much rejected fairly well off that 50% fib, just shy of, well, it hit $60. It pushed just above $60, pulling back just a hair, hopefully making a continuation for us into that 61.8 area and even beyond. So we'll kind of see how this all plays out with the CAD and with some of the CAD pairs we're watching and so on. But definitely some stuff to watch for there. So we'll watch as this imbalanced move continues on New Zealand CAD, Aussie CAD that kind of has that same same setup we've been watching. Aussie CAD. So here's something interesting about Aussie CAD. I have wanted to get long, as we've talked about, on Aussie CAD for some time, and I'm bringing this up because it kind of pertains to our New Zealand CAD trade setup a little bit as well. I've wanted to get long this Aussie CAD because we have this nice target up above this market imbalance. We've got this nice monthly pivot over here, great little monthly pivot. But this thing never pulled back far enough to get us into the trade, or for me to feel really confident about the entry that we had on hand. We had a market imbalance down here. We have some pivots, some details there, and I just want to kind of see some of that stuff get hit before getting long, and it never got hit. So what that does for me is tells me that I probably that we're probably going to see a little bit of an aggressive run on this one as well. But in the process, now we have one market imbalance. We have a couple of pivots in here. We have a weekly and a daily back here, and we've got this this nice little market imbalance here. So now, New Zealand, or excuse me, the Aussie CAD is getting a little bit short-term overbought as well. So that's kind of helping our cause. This thing may want to run up and take out that market imbalance, but that's only up at like 9,600, just shy of 9,600. We're here at just around 9,550. So we'll let this thing run up 50 pips, get up there, and then we'll probably and possibly start looking for opportunities to short this. I don't know if Aussie CAD is really going to fit into our bill of what we want to kind of see happen. We've got Aussie New Zealand long, New Zealand CAD short, and Aussie CAD might just be kind of an outlier. But if we're kind of watching Aussie CAD, New Zealand CAD side by side, then this is, this is kind of the setup of the charts we'll want to, um, keep on keep on our minds there. Okay, so Aussie CAD, New Zealand CAD. On the CAD side of things, though, we've seen Aussie Swiss. So we kind of have these funny opposing pairs here, because we kind of want to see Aussie CAD go higher, but we want to see New Zealand CAD go lower. We want to see Aussie Swiss dip a little bit and then go higher, and I kind of want to see New Zealand Swiss sell off. So so we've kind of got these interestingly opposing Aussie CAD, New Zealand CAD, Aussie Swiss, New Zealand Swiss kind of directions. I want to see the CAD go one direction. I want to see the New Zealand go the other direction, and the different pairs are going to be kind of interesting to see how they play out there. But Aussie Swiss, this one's still on our mind. If this did have a nice big sell off and a nice big dip down, we may see something similar happen on New Zealand Swiss, which could give us a nice little trade. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But this is finally, it's taken out these monthly pivots and some of these levels here. We've got that weekly pivot just lurking, just hanging out down here. And it's a little ways down there. It's still 150 pips down there. So I'm going to be watching for kind of that bigger type move, and then potentially, some of that stuff. So Aussie Swiss isn't heavy on the list right now. But it will be if it can start to kind of dip down and give us some of that type of movement, then we should have 300 pips of buying opportunity once that lower weekly pivot gets hit. We'll start watching it a little more closely. We'll probably be looking for some sort of trend line break, some sort of falling wedge, something to kind of happen there to start that buying. So that's kind of what we're looking for in those guys. So Aussie CAD, Aussie Swiss. We may start looking for the selling opportunity on Aussie CAD as that continues to push higher and gets out of balance. Aussie Swiss will just let this sell off and then start looking for the buying opportunity lower. Okay, questions, comments? What do you guys think? Excuse me. All right, so another Aussie pair that we've got, or should I say another New Zealand pair that we've got some positions on. New Zealand, Aussie New Zealand, we've got that 103.30 and 104.100 buy entries. Remember, guys, keep those trade sizes manageable, because we'll probably add one final position to this, and then we'll just sit in it and let it play out. And, as I've mentioned before, I think when this movement starts to happen, I think it's going to be pretty aggressive, and I think it's not going to take any prisoners, but it's probably not going to give us too many opportunities to get into it, or for traders to get into it. So when this starts to take off and run, that's why I'm scaling these positions in and just trying to leave them and hold the course, because I think when it starts to run, it's just going to go so quickly. It's probably not going to give a lot of pullbacks, and it's probably going to be a very out of balance movement, right? It's probably going to leave a lot of pivots, a lot of market imbalances when it heads higher. And we're just going to try to ride the wave as long as we can. We'll take profit as close to 108.00 as possible, and then we'll just let it start to fall. And we may or may not start shorting it at that point. But I bet that we just get a lot of missed pivots and a lot of market imbalances as this thing runs up. But right now it's running down and leaving all of that. So I think it's going to go hit those levels pretty quickly, and then then kind of be done with it. So, but in the meantime, it's dragging this out, and it's dragging us out a bit. But we have all these great levels, and it just continues to leave all these great levels. So not too many new market imbalances, but plenty of missed pivots. There's our weekly pivot right there. That's pretty close to our most recent entry. This weekly pivot is almost 103.20. We're in at 103.30. But we've got another weekly pivot here. We've got our monthly pivot We've got going back here, we've got all these great levels. That fantastic market imbalance. It's around 105, 105.20, right in that area. I think those are all really easy, really good targets. And we'll be watching those areas, right? We're going to be looking at that stuff. I mean, this monthly pivot is kind of, it's big and bold and staring us in the face. That's at 104.45. If we got out at something like that, we'd have, over 100 pips on our second position in profit. We'd have about 40 or so pips, 45, 50 pips on our first position. There would be, 200 pips kind of total to take in a situation like that. Just shy of that. But I think we've got enough good upper targets that this should be able to just kind of make its run and get us there. We want to get there. We really want to get there. So we're going to stay the course on this Aussie New Zealand as best we can. But remember, guys, nice little falling wedge, great little breakout pattern, short-term falling wedge right here. I'm going to watch this really closely. If the news pops up and we need to kind of trim a position, maybe our most recent position or something, we'll discuss that. We'll discuss kind of what our options are so that we're not too heavily overexposed with New Zealand pairs going into New Zealand news. If we need to trim a position on Aussie New Zealand so that we just have one on Aussie New Zealand and one on New Zealand CAD, that's a possibility, and we'll discuss all of that as we go into tomorrow. But I like this setup. I think it's a great little area here, and hopefully will give us the move we're looking for. So Aussie New Zealand, we'll just hold the course as best we can, and let's see where this thing goes. All right, so that's what we're looking for in some of the Aussie pairs. New Zealand pairs. We've got our New Zealand CAD that we've talked about here. We've got our New Zealand Swiss that we're still keeping an eye on this thing. It's having a heck of a time making a break for it. We've got all these pivots over here, so probably at a higher price, I'd be more inclined to sell this New Zealand Swiss. Maybe up here at 6,900, about 50 pips higher. I'd feel a little more excited about selling that. But we are watching that. And I think there's some good potential there. So slow going, choppy and steady. This will be, probably some scalping type movements up here. We'll hold our long-term positions, on that Aussie New Zealand CAD. But there could be some good scalps on this New Zealand Swiss at these higher prices. Okay, so we're going to keep an eye on that. We'll talk about some more CAD pairs in a second. But let's talk about this dollar peso for just a moment. Now, I've got another trade group that we focus on kind of different types of setups, like bar counts and so on specifically. We got a little bit of this dollar peso trade. Anybody get any of that movement up there? Anyone getting into some of that dollar peso? We talked a little bit about it on the Monday webinar, and great little trade. Great little trade. Good, guys. Good. I love it. Okay, so yes, dollar peso worked out nicely. It gave a nice little. You were awake when I failed. Oh, still in it, Bob. Okay, that's all right. That's all right. Good, Jim. Excellent. Nice entry. Very good. Yeah, the dollar peso is an interesting one. It's calculating the pips first of all is kind of a mind bender. I know a lot of people, in the other trade group where we had that dollar peso trade running, were like, how many pips is this? So yes, the dollar peso is a tricky one when it comes to pips, but we love it because it usually can make us some decent money. So now that kind of that initial trade setup is over a little bit, we're going to be looking in this group for kind of target trades, right? We had a 15-minute trade. We had a really nice 15-minute trade on dollar peso that kind of signaled the timing of the first entry. But I want everybody to focus on this peso in the coming couple of days, and I'm of course going to post some trade recommendations on this and so on. we've got some we've got some pretty interesting targets down here. Just some recent ones. There's a little market imbalance right there. There's a daily and a weekly pivot right there. There's a little market imbalance right there. So the peso's coming down just a hair, and we have all these major targets up above. There's still 1, 2, 3, 4 daily pivots, a weekly pivot, just in this recent little move right here. So I think we're going to get probably some bigger continuations on this dollar peso. We've got all those missed targets right there, and then we've got all these guys back here: weekly, monthly, market imbalance, and so on. So I'll probably stop watching the peso once it gets to to 1985. That's probably where I'll say, okay, I'm done, on to the next. But until it gets there, I think there's going to be some pretty decent opportunities on dollar peso to hopefully just buy some dips. There's going to be some short-term trades here. And, oops, here we go. Some short-term trades here on just buying dips. And that's kind of what I'm dialed in on here, is just buying some dips on dollar peso and targeting those bigger upper areas. So it's a tricky one. It's one we have to. Good morning, Joe. Nice to see you. It's one we'll have to watch closely, do some scalps, do some of that stuff. But I want to watch this thing right back at that kind of 18.9 level again and 19. So our weekly pivot's just about where our first, where I first kind of started getting into this thing a little bit here. But I'm out, and I'm kind of watching for the details here. But we're going to be watching 19, and we're going to be watching 18.8, 18.9 right there to start jumping back into this thing. Looking for some short-term scalps, some medium term, and kind of some bigger long-term target trades up into some of those bigger targets there. So really like this setup. So again, we're looking for that. Let's get this back down to 19.0 and below, and start scalping and medium term and longer term holding some positions up there. Bo, is market imbalance defined as accumulation missed pivots that aren't hit still earning? No, it's a good question, Bo. It's a really good question. Remember, a market imbalance is just simply where we have a consolidation of the candlesticks, consolidation of price action, and then a breakout without a pullback. So, just like a little short term example would be like something right here, right? Consolidation, and it breaks out, and it never gives us that pullback to that breakout. So when you have a big breakout candle, you're just looking at the consolidation just before the breakout candle, and we're marking that, and we're looking at that as a target. Does that make sense? So kind of like right over here, right, where you had this this consolidation right here, and then a big breakout candle, and it left that imbalance right through there. That became a target for us. So that ran down and came back and hit that target. Now we get a series of breakouts and market imbalances, right? A series of consolidation, breakout, no pullback, consolidation, breakout, no pullback, and so on and so on. Then that becomes a super duper out of balance market that we want to start trading in that direction. So what we want to try to line up is a bunch of missed pivots and a bunch of these consolidations and breakouts without a pullback. And so if we can have some pivots and some market imbalances speckled in the same direction, we have a really strong chance of a trade, of the trade going that direction. So again, just like we had, this is another example right here, right? This dollar peso, little consolidation there, breakout, no pullback. So we'll just mark the high of that, just like that right there. And it runs up, and it comes back, and it hits that pivot. So that's or excuse me, that market imbalance. So that's the kind of stuff we're looking for. Same thing, you get this guy right over here, and boom, there you go. And that's actually one of our upper targets right there. Little consolidation, no pullback, pulled back a little bit, but we want to actually see it hit that level, and it's heading lower. So that's why we like this this peso. Yes, the hourly chart for this. We find these market imbalances on the hourly charts. They can work in other places, but we're specifically on the hourly chart. Okay, good, good. Does that make sense? Does that help? I think I've got a video on market imbalances somewhere as well. So I'll make sure to post that. I think it's in the members website. I'll post that there. We'll talk about it. You know, we can talk about it as much as we need to. I'm happy to discuss it. So market imbalance is at the consolidation level. Yes, that's exactly right, Mel. Yep. It's at that consolidation level, and yep. So you know, if it's a breakout up, the market imbalance will be the high of that consolidation before the breakout. If it's a breakout down, you know, like this guy right here, the market imbalance would be at the low of that consolidation before the breakout down. Does that make sense, guys? Definitely, it's a very good thing to discuss as much as we can and need to, because it's, you know, that type of stuff is so important for, you know, which direction we're trading. So, yes, those are super solid. So, you know, and looking at some of these little short-term market imbalances, you know, again, we're looking at this stuff right here. We want to see, you know, these kinds of moves. We have market imbalances and pivots up above. Let's take out some of these kind of shorter-term, lower levels here, and you know, hit those. I definitely do not want to trade down to these guys right here, so don't do that. I mean, you can, I guess, if you want to, but I won't be doing it. But we're going to start looking for some short-term bounces and some details at these lower levels for that bigger push. So dollar peso looks really, really good. I'm super excited about that one. So yes, I will absolutely. We'll post that video. I'll run through it. I'll probably just make a new video, you know, kind of quickly and talk about it in more detail and just make sure everyone's got a good idea of, you know, how those work and what those are, you know, what those are looking like. So talking about that dollar peso, so a move like that would be dollar strength, right? Or, you know, peso weakness, but, you know, it needs to be driven a little bit by both, some peso weakness and dollar strength. If we look at the dollar index here, this guy, you know, what in the heck is this thing doing? In kind of the near-term channel here, 95 to 97.75, the dollar index is just bouncing around. It's just bouncing around. It's right in the middle of it. So it can just go either direction. Ultimately, we're looking for that big push lower, but I could see the dollar index breaking above 97.75, hitting the 100 level before big time selling off. So we're kind of coming into pre-summer push, you know, moments and details, and I feel like that's, you know, we got to watch that. But the dollar index is very range bound right now, and it's pretty open to a move in any direction here. I'm still looking for dollar weakness. I think we're going to get dollar weakness. So that's why we're going to be a little bit careful about the peso trade, because that's a dollar strength trade. But, you know, while this is pretty range bound and excuse me, pretty sideways, I don't think we're going to have too much of a, you know, of a major move one direction or another. So that'll give us a good opportunity to trade that dollar peso. We'll be very protective of our positions. We'll use, you know, probably some stop losses, and we'll plan on kind of, if the trade invalidates, you know, getting out with a loss kind of a thing because of this dollar index chart. Okay, so everything look okay on that? You guys all good on those details? We're talking about dollar peso. We're talking pretty heavily about New Zealand CAD that we're already in. We're watching New Zealand Swiss. We're watching very closely, obviously, our Aussie New Zealand, our Aussie Swiss, Aussie CAD. I do want to mention for just a moment, as we see this this CAD weakness, and we're seeing a bit of Swiss franc strength as well. We've got this CAD weakness, and I'm liking that for our CAD Swiss. So CAD Swiss is we talked about this. This was the watch list last week, and I said, man, let's get this thing down. Let's start buying it. Well, lo and behold, here it goes. We don't have any real interesting market imbalances up here, but we're leaving a couple of pivots. There's a weekly or 2 daily pivots and a weekly. Some nice little levels there. So that's good. This thing is kind of just continuing to push lower, and so we're keeping our eyes and ears open. But the more this CAD Swiss dips, the more we want to buy into it. So remember, this is getting down into 7,400. The closer we get to 7,000, the better for a long trade. So this could be, it could take us some time to get down there, but this is the channel we're seeing. This is the channel we're watching. We get this thing down into the 7,150, 7,200 area. It gets pretty interesting. We're not too far away from that. Then obviously we get down, 6,900 just below. That's great as well. So probably not an aggressive trade to take this, over the next couple of days, but this will be something that we're going to be looking to get long and looking for anywhere from, 6 to 800 pips. We want to trade this thing off those, multi-year channel lows and see if we can get it back towards those multi-year channel highs, which is around the 8,000 level. So we get in long at the low 7,000s, traded up to the high 7,000/8,000. But it's a little slow going. But again, we get another 200 pips down on this thing, and then we start trading up from there. So New Zealand CAD Swiss is on that on that list pretty closely as well. Probably a final thought, final word this morning is euro dollar. Anybody in euro dollar? Anybody trade euro dollar? There. All right, Lars. Did you short euro dollar? Are you long? What are you doing on euro dollar? Or are you out of it already? Euro dollar is pretty super interesting here. Pretty interested in this. Was short last week, now long. Okay, well, I like that long for sure, and I like that short. That was obviously a nice good little move there for sure. So we had euro dollar. We had we had this big spike up, right? I think this was our interest rate news. So we had that big spike up there. And then it just turned around, came right back down to that market imbalance. Just again to cement this idea here: consolidation, breakout, leaves the market imbalance, comes right back down to it. But what have we had happen here? We have had this is where some of the market imbalances can be kind of tricky, is when you have two kind of big levels that you got to watch. So now we have another market imbalance as we've had this aggressive move down here. And that we're definitely looking more for a euro dollar rally than a euro dollar, long-term sell-off. And so as this is kind of running down here, I'm getting pretty interested in, in a couple of things. Anytime this thing gets down into the 112-ish area, it seems to be a great buy. So it works well. Yeah, good. We got some, good. Down to 61.8. Okay, I like that. What I'm going to be watching here is we've got some nice couple of pivots, couple of daily pivots down here. If this can continue to push lower, then these make some great upper targets, right? Right in there. We've got a weekly pivot, market imbalance, all that right in there. So if this can push lower, take out some of those short-term pivots at, about 100 pips lower, I will definitely be looking to buy euro dollar for, even just for 100 pips. If it gets choppy and messy, I'll be looking for some kind of shorter term scalps to trade it up there. But watching dips on euro dollar, looking for opportunity to buy rallies or to buy these dips for the rally. So euro dollar looks interesting. Looks pretty darn interesting. Let's see if we can kind of trade the range, get down near those supports. Like I said, 112 is always really good. So we get into the lowest 112 parts of 11200, and let's start buying this thing up towards 113.50 and beyond. So that's what we're watching for. But yeah, we got some. I'll do my best. I'll do my best, Lars. So we've got some great setups, guys. We've got 4 or 5 or 6 pairs that I think are going to be super awesome that I'm super excited to get into. So we'll be ready for that. Questions, comments, let me know. I'm going to be very active, over the next 24 hours, specifically, just watching all the details and researching as much as I can for, coming interest rate news and our current New Zealand positions along with everything else. So we'll look for some scalps on that dollar peso. We'll look for some longer-term trades on everything else we're looking for, and we'll just take it all from there. Questions, comments, thoughts, guys? Everyone sound okay? Everyone feel okay with that? Does that sound good? Hi, Dorothy. Yeah, so Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar are not. They're just so limbo-y for me right now. So Dorothy, on that Aussie dollar, I'd like to see 7,000 again. We hit some of these upper targets that we had, so those are kind of out of the way. And we don't really have much in the lower targets ways. So I don't think Aussie dollar is a very defined one for me yet. I like the Aussie dollar and I want to trade it if possible, but it's just I just can't. Once everything else picks some direction, then I think the Aussie dollar might be a little bit better. For now, I think I just don't. I'm not picking up enough of a clear direction on this one to really, to really call it, I would say. So, yeah, sorry, Dorothy. I'm watching it, but it's just not giving me what I want to see yet. So, no clear direction on Aussie dollar. Manage it, New Zealand dollar. New Zealand dollar is kind of the same thing, right? It's New Zealand dollar's taken out some of these lower levels. It's been pretty efficient about that. But we still have all those bigger upper levels on New Zealand dollar that we don't have on Aussie dollar. So, probably a little bit more of a dip and then some more rallies. I would still, if you were doing something, I'd probably still stay long, New Zealand dollar. I wouldn't want to really short New Zealand dollar, but I think it's going to be a very, very slow grind on that New Zealand dollar, US dollar pair. Yep, yeah. Low, then probably high. Yep, I think so. Absolutely. Okay, guys, I'll get this watch list posted. I'll update all the charts here in the watch list there. Get everything updated on all that. But some good short-term trades on dollar peso. We're still watching New Zealand CAD. We're in New Zealand, New Zealand Swiss. We're in New Zealand CAD. We're getting excited about that CAD Swiss, Aussie New Zealand, Aussie CAD, Aussie Swiss, Euro dollar, and dollar peso. Those are going to be some good ones. So I'll update everything in there and let you guys know about it. All of it. So thanks, everybody. Nice to see you all. Happy Monday to everybody. Good luck on everything. I'll keep you updated on all these setups as we go. We do have a lot of great stuff to trade this week, so I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, everybody. Nice to see you all. Sam, good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Good to see everybody. Take care, guys. More updates and details coming. We'll see you all. Take care, guys.